And we're back. And joining me today, I have, as I alluded to last episode, I've got Teren Christensen joining me again, my good friend from Utah. Teren, it's been a while since we last talked on here, but it's great to have you back. And obviously, we don't have video right now, but that's okay. We've got your audio, so appreciate you coming on to talk a little bit about a variety of topics. But how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, and last time we talked in depth about your dad and his career and all that. So I don't know that we'll really talk about it too much, but if you have anything new to share, obviously feel free to do so. We always like hearing about any stories about your dad and your family.
Well, we just found out tonight that apparently there's going to be a clip of my dad in the new movie with Zachary Levi playing Kurt Warner. Apparently there's going to be a shot of my dad in that movie because I think my dad called a couple of Kurt Warner's arena football games.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
When does that come out?
Let me check.
Okay. Is that coming out on like in a actual movie or is it on like ESPN Plus or something?
It's coming out in theaters, but I think it's just like limited maybe for Christmas.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like American Underdog.
Yeah. So my uncle sent us a text tonight, and we were under the impression that there would be a clip of my dad in the trailer, but it might just be in the movie.
Yeah. It looks like it's coming out on Christmas Day, so I definitely have been seeing things about that, but I didn't know that was a full-length movie. I thought it was going to be like one of those 30 for 30s or whatever on ESPN.
Yeah, no, it's got Shazam in it and everything. So
impressive. Cool. Well, yeah, I'll be interested to see what clip they have of him in there. That's pretty cool to hear. So, but we brought you on to talk about a range of subjects, but obviously with your family ties to the Raiders, I'm interested in your takes on where the season is going and what you think they'll be doing in the future. I know you're not quite the Raiders aficionado that I consider myself to be, but like I said, with the family history there, I'm just interested in your take on how the team is doing this year, and then also, like I said, going forward, what you think direction they'll take.
Well, I mean, you're right. I'm not really the Raiders aficionado that a lot of people are, but because it's in the family, we do follow every game and want to see them do well. But they started real well, and then it's been disappointing the last like 4 games or more, I'm guessing. I don't know what your opinion on it would be, but
I was going to say it's been pretty rough 19 out of the last 20 years, but
oh, I thought you were just talking this season.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
I was, yeah.
I mean, it's been disappointing since Super Bowl, whatever that was, that the Buccaneers destroyed them.
Yeah.
With Chucky being head coach of the Buccaneers that year and getting like 6 interceptions off of Rich Gannon.
Yeah, that was not a good one.
But they've been, well, I mean, I would say more often than not, they've been disappointing since Super Bowl 18.
Yeah, I mean, since I've been alive, they haven't won a Super Bowl. They've been to that one, which was 2002, and playoffs once since then, and that was in 2016. And obviously Derek Carr broke his leg, and we went into that game. I can't remember who the quarterback was. I think it was Connor Cook, and we didn't have a chance even against the Texans that were not a great team. So
yeah.
Yeah, it's been rough, but go on. I mean, this season for sure has been disappointing because, like the last three seasons, they've been off to a hot start and then really just falter in November and December. So,
I thought it was interesting. After Sunday, I saw a couple of things on social media and people posting articles, one from or with quotes from Josh Jacobs saying, "I think that we coast a little too much."
yeah,
I think that that's probably true. I mean, you get off to a hot start, then maybe you get a little bit too
yeah,
sure and think that you don't need to try as much anymore because you think, we got this. But then and then life happens and you realize that you don't.
yeah. Well, and I watched that press conference because that was immediately. I can't remember if it was immediately after the game. I think it was, and they just they fell apart in that game. They really had no business losing to Washington, but it's been a symptom of that team for the last, like I said, 19, 20 years, where they're
Yeah.
essentially playing down to the competition, so playing down to the level of teams they should beat, and then a lot of the times you'll see them beat teams that they have no business beating. So it's definitely
It's
a
a,
frustrating thing being a Raiders fan that we get used to that. But go
it's
on it.
it's it's funny that you'd say that just because I was thinking that I've had the exact same conversation with people about BYU.
Yeah,
Their football team somehow like beats teams like Nebraska and um, then loses to South Florida and stuff like that. And it's just like, I don't know what's going on.
yeah.
And so it's like there's some parallel there with Raiders and BYU. It's just that
Well,
I think exactly what you just said, that they play to the level of the team that they're playing, which is weird.
it's
I
super
mean,
weird.
sometimes it's frustrating because if they're playing to the level of a lower team, you know that they've got it in them to play better than they're doing, and why are they not doing that?
Yep. And that's what Josh alluded to. He said, I wish I could tell you what's going on because I've never experienced this. Like he's always been on winning teams in high school, and then obviously he went to University of Alabama where they lose two games in a season. It's a down season. So coming to the NFL and being on the Raiders, he's gone through this several years in a row where like I said, they start hot and then everyone thinks they're great, and then November and December roll around and they just start losing, and it's a frustrating pattern, but it's been happening for so long we've just grown accustomed to it. And when Rich Bisaccia was asked about Josh's comments and coasting, he said, well, I respect Josh's opinion, but I don't know what he means by coasting because we're going out there and we're putting our best foot forward in practice, and for some reason it's not translating to the games, but we're not coasting into these games, we're not coasting into practice, we're not doing anything, we're putting in the work. It's just we're not getting the results we want. And
Well, I
Basach,
wonder like how much the practice is translating to the game day. I
yeah, and
mean, I
that's what they
believe him.
said.
I
They
believe
don't.
him that they're practicing doing the best that they can. Um, but it's kind of hard to gauge when you're just playing against each other.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and the Raiders don't have the best defense in the world, obviously. So I mean, it's tough to gauge what your offense is doing against, not the best level of competition out there. Their defense is, I would say, at least marginally better than it was last year. They have the
Yeah.
pass rushers of Max Crosby and Ngakwe, and then Solomon Thomas is playing well on the defensive side. You got Nate Hobbs and Casey Hayward that are both graded among the best cornerbacks in the league, but you've had just the injury bug hitting, and quite honestly, the linebacking core has been hit pretty hard this season. Littleton got banged up in that last game, and then Perryman, who's been a phenomenal trade that they made, he got his ankle twisted up and didn't come back in the second half of that game. And then they ended up signing Will Compton, which I'm excited about. He played for them, I think it was back in 2019, and brought some juice as a veteran piece that came in late in the season, and really he wore the green dot throughout the rest of that season. So excited to see what he can do to contribute. Obviously, he's not going to be a Perryman, but he can fill in and play well in this scheme. So
yeah. Well, I'm sure that he can, and I look forward to seeing what he can contribute. I thought it was funny a couple of days ago. I saw a tweet just from him because several of the Raiders fans that follow me and I follow retweeted it, and he just said, "I have it on a very good source has told me that I'm signing with the Raiders."
yeah. Yeah, he is hilarious. I love that guy. Like, I don't know if you've ever listened to his podcast with Taylor Lewan, his buddy and former teammate with the Tennessee Titans. It's they definitely have some colorful people on there, and it's obviously some humor, some real life. They have a lot of NFL athletes since they are obviously NFL athletes. So it's a really good podcast. Definitely long in time, but it's definitely worth a listen. And he's a character. And like I said, I loved having him on the Raiders his last go around. So excited for the signing there. But I don't know. What do you think? Do you think Rich Bisaccia and Mike Mayock will be there with the Raiders for much longer, or how are you feeling on that?
I feel like that it just needs to coalesce from everybody. I think Bisaccia has potential. And I know that the players on the team do also to be good. I mean, Carr, I see like a half and a half almost on my Twitter feed of hating Carr and loving Carr and like giving him the benefit of the doubt or wanting to kick him off the team.
Yeah.
But he's the leader in yards right now. So I mean, if he can add that to completions in the right, scenarios, then I'm sure that he's going to be one of the top. He has the potential to be one of the top guys. But I saw in the game against the Washington football team that I forgot the backup's name. Why did I forget the backup's name?
Mariota?
Yeah, Mariota got a few snaps.
Yeah, and that's more a Mariota package. I don't think he would even. I don't know. I don't think he's real competition for Carr because when he started getting the snaps and stuff, even in practice, he was having a hard time completing them. Obviously, he had that one game last year where he spelled Carr because Carr came up with that hamstring injury or whatever it was late in that game, and he led the team back and almost had a win. So I know a lot of the fan base wants to see more of him, and their opinion is we've seen enough of Carr in the last 8 years. We know what he's capable of. Let's see what Mariota can do because we got to make a decision on him whether we're bringing him back next year or not. So I can see both sides of the argument. And honestly,
what would you have them do?
If they lose this next game against the Chiefs, that's pretty much dooming the rest of their season. So at that point, I would like to see what Mariota has. Not that I think he's going to do any better, but you may as well see what's in there.
Just to give him a shot because there's nothing left to lose.
Exactly.
Kind of a thing. Okay.
And not that I think Carr's incapable of winning. I just don't think he's capable of making players around him better, which you see like Aaron Rodgers. You see the top quarterbacks in the league are able to do that, and we just haven't seen that in the last 8 years with Carr.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to preface that by saying I think he's a wonderful human being. I love him as a team captain and things like that. But over the last 8 years, I've seen a lot of evidence where he starts to check the ball down when he doesn't get a look right away. He obviously missed Deshaun Jackson early in that Washington football game on the same exact play that they hit the Cowboys with, where he had that 53-yard touchdown. Had the same exact look, safety bit on it, just like they did in the Cowboys game. And he was uncovered, streaking across the middle of the field, and Carr just missed him, didn't see him. And then when they asked him about that play after the game, he said, well, I couldn't see the safety, so I didn't want to throw it blind. Well, I mean, you got to take shots eventually. And the game plan, quite honestly, was just brutal against Washington. They had so many design swing passes that went for, 1 to 3 yards. Sometimes they even took a loss on them. I think there's a couple of plays they took for a loss of 4 or so, where he was basically, first read was a wide receiver, and if the read wasn't there, he'd just immediately check it down to Josh Jacobs. And that's why I think a lot of those passing stats are a little misleading. He has that high completion percentage, but he's not pushing the ball down the field. And then the passing yards, I think he's now second in the league, if I remember right. In total passing yards. But that's because the running game is just completely non-existent. They haven't been able to run the ball at all this year, so they've had to pass. So that's where it's like, yeah, I mean, he's doing well, but the team's also 6-6 and lost to teams they definitely should not have, and that's the Giants and now Washington. So I'm beyond frustrated, obviously, and I don't think Bisaccia is going to survive just because a lot of the things that have come up to bite them have been being way too conservative on third and short, and then fourth and short. He's not even thinking about it, going for it. It's just immediately send out either the punter or the kicker, and analytics have almost always said you need to go for it when you're in this position on this down and distance. So I think that's going to come back to bite him, because a lot of these successful coaches that you're seeing in the league are going with the analytics, such as Staley from the Chargers. Obviously, they 6-5 as well, so they're not head and shoulders above the Raiders. But I think they're on a much better track to have sustained winning versus the Raiders, where it's been obviously not great over the last few seasons. So, but I think ultimately, I would love to see Mike Mayock come back for one more season and see what he can actually do with full control. I'd like to see him have some opportunity and input into hiring a head coach, and then they ultimately need to get rid of Greg Olsen. Like, he's been in charge of putting the plays together since Gruden has left, and the first 2 weeks, I think he was kind of just going with what Gruden had planned, and then people started picking up on his tendencies, and he really hasn't been able to adapt. So defenses are going up to the line knowing what the plays are, and they're just not able to. And when they're throwing the ball behind the line of scrimmage on 3rd and 7, there's not a good chance that you're going to convert that when you're starting negative. So it's been frustrating, like I said. The question posed on Twitter today by a lot of the Raiders fans were, if they somehow beat the Chiefs, are you back on board? And I can't honestly say that I would be, because we still have to beat the Chargers, we still have to beat the Broncos, and the way that we're playing right now, I don't really see us beating either of those teams. As much as I'm not a believer in the Broncos, I've also seen us play over the last 6 weeks or so. And outside of that Cowboy showing, we really haven't been explosive on offense at all. So it's tough to win when you can't even score more than 17 points in a game. So,
Right.
but we'll move on for the Raiders. Obviously, like you said, I'm passionate about the Raiders. I could talk about them all the time, but I did want to ask you about
That's,
what's that?
I was just gonna say that's fine with me, but if you want to move on, that's good too.
No, we'll move on. The main reason I wanted to bring you on is obviously the BYU football team had a pretty good season. I think they did better than
Yeah.
expectations, but I wasn't really keeping up with them on the preseason expectations. So let's just have you give a season recap, what you think, and then I'll ask you a couple of questions that I have pertaining to the program.
Okay. Well, BYU in the regular season went 10-2, and that they beat 5 Pac-12 teams and several Power 5 teams. They looked pretty good. I think Kalani Sitake is a really good coach, and I think, but similar as what you said about the Raiders, every season with BYU is similar in that they either at least get behind against teams that they really shouldn't, or they lose to teams that they shouldn't lose to. Like they really shouldn't have lost that Boise State game, but it's I suppose it's hard to come back from fumbling 4 times, or at least turning the ball over 4 times, and uh, I would guess that they got shocked by the rain, which is, I mean, that's not really an excuse, but it hadn't rained for the first 5 games, and then they got kind of crushed by Boise State, and then the Baylor loss wasn't unexpected.
Yeah, I mean they were obviously a really good team. They ended up winning their conference against Oklahoma State in the championship. So
Yeah. It's I Kalani Sitake, I think, is a very classy person.
I think you could say that. Yeah.
Just because the reason I say that is going back to what we had talked about with the Raiders is that sometimes they play to the level of the team that they're playing against, or they will kind of stop. Like they'll hit a certain point and then they'll stop. And that kind of scares me when they do that, because sometimes their defense is not good enough to stop the other team when their offense is stopped. And they've ended up losing games that they like blew out the team like the first half.
Yeah.
It didn't happen this season that I know of, but like only beating Washington State by 2 points. And the USC game, I think USC outplayed them. But the reason I say that Kalani is classy is because some of the bigger conferences, like teams that you would see in top 10, top 5 every year, sometimes have like 65-3 blowouts and stuff like that. And it's just like, why don't we get to do that ever? I mean, I might be mean, but I think that would be a fun thing to watch.
As long as you're not the 3.
Well, yeah, exactly. And then, but then it would be um, appropriately karmic if it happened to us as well.
Yeah. No,
Which I'm sure some of those top 5 teams might even shut us out.
when he left from Utah and went to BYU, I thought he might turn that program around pretty quick because he took over for Bronco, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And obviously, when he left, I don't think it was on the best of terms. I didn't they go like 6-5 a couple years in a row or something like that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
They had a couple of good, like 10-win seasons with Bronco.
Yep.
Um, but then a few 7-5s and stuff like that. I thought when BYU played Virginia this year, though, the fans were pretty respectful.
Yeah. I honestly didn't even know that he was at Virginia, and then he just announced his retirement, so that kind of
Mm-hmm.
came out of nowhere. But um,
Yeah.
the questions I had for you about BYU,
Uh-huh.
I'm sure you'll get a crack out of this one. But let's say BYU and Utah played today. Who would you have as the favorite in that game?
How did Utah end up?
I think they ended up 10-3, winning the Pac-12 championship over Oregon. They blew them out the last 2 games. Obviously, they played the
Oh
last
yeah.
game of the season against Oregon, and then they played in the championship game against Oregon in the rematch. So,
And they won that one pretty well, 38-10.
yep, yeah.
Um,
That last touchdown was kind of in garbage time. So,
and they're playing Ohio State in the bowl game. Yikes.
is that who they got matched up with?
Uh-huh.
I thought they were
Rose,
playing Oregon State.
no, Rose Bowl against Ohio State.
I thought, is that really who they're playing?
I'm on ESPN right now looking at it.
That's insane.
On New Year's Day.
Yeah, I thought I had read they were playing Oregon State. Interesting. Okay. Well, that's going to be a tough game, but
Uh, anyway, back to your question. I I'm a homer, so I'm gonna still give it to BYU, but
yeah.
I'm gonna say it's not an 9-point game. It's probably more like 2 or 3.
Yeah, and that's the reason I asked that question is just because obviously at the beginning of the season we had, or Utah had the quarterback that ended up getting benched and then left the program. I think his name was Charlie Brewer, if I remember right.
Sounds
And
familiar.
yeah, I think that's his name. And anyway, he he was not playing well, and that's when the Utes matched up with you guys, and obviously I was watching that game. Living in Utah for so long, you pretty much have to pick one side or the other,
Uh-huh.
and growing up in um, Provo area, obviously everyone liked BYU, so I was like going the other way. So
Uh-huh.
that's that's why I always went with them. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it would be a much better game now than at the beginning of the season.
I just
Obviously,
got to say, it's very, very hard to stop Tyler Algier.
yeah,
And so if he's on a tear, then I like BYU's chances.
yep. I I'm impartial, but like I said, the way
Well,
that they
so am I.
finished,
I'm
they
pretty sure that you and I had a lot of joshing each other in
oh,
fourth
for
grade
sure,
about it.
yeah. Well,
Um,
even before this game started, this year.
Yeah,
We were
yeah,
going back
I
and forth.
remember you
So
and I texting and back and forth. Um, yeah, it's fun to do that because I'm not a like hating rivalry guy. I'm
yeah,
not. I hate them regardless of who they're playing type of person. I am. I will root for them when they're playing everybody but BYU.
yep.
But I do have a few friends who are they hate BYU regardless, and it's so much fun for me for some reason to kind of poke at that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you
I
had
don't
a
know
chance
why.
to this year for the first time in a while, so may as well.
That one yeah, I'm not that kind of a person either. I'm not really a rub it in your face kind of a person because 9 years previously to win one game, that that's not a huge bragging right, I don't think.
Yeah. No, it definitely had not been the rivalry of old, and I
And that
think
well,
that's. Go ahead.
and I just think that the rivalry overall, I actually looked it up once, and it's been like 2/3 Utah. It's like I
Well, and
think they've
that's just
played like
recently. I
well,
think
I
up
think they've played
until.
like 115 games total since like 1890 or something like that, and
Yep.
it's like 85 to 56.
Yeah, and that's just recently because up until I'm trying to remember the famous ball coach. Who was that you guys
Lavelle?
had forever? Yeah, him. When he was coaching, it got, I think BYU finally took the lead, and then after he retired, it went back pretty much exclusively to Utah for quite a while.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, uh, yeah.
but
That last rivalry game of my brother's career is so sad to me still.
I don't remember that one. Was that Toby,
It was
right?
yeah, it was such a boring game, and it was freezing cold, like at the end of December,
Yeah.
and the game ended up 3-0.
Oh yeah, yeah, I remember that one. Walk off field goal,
But
right?
yeah,
Yep.
um, but it's just sad because my brother muffed a punt,
Ooh,
and that's what led to Utah's field goal.
yeah, yeah. That was in a blizzard, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yep, yep.
and so he's got a reason. His hands were really cold, and he couldn't really feel the ball, but still said it that he got credited with a fumble, and that led to their only score and the only score of the game.
Yep. Well, he can live in infamy.
He's doing pretty well for himself
Yeah, I'm
now.
sure he's fine. Um, the last question I had about BYU is Kalani Sitake has been rumored to be, I don't know if he's interested, but teams around the NCAA are interested in him. One of the rumored ones I heard the most recently was Oregon.
Uh-huh.
Speaking of Oregon, do you think BYU will be able to keep him, or do you think he's interested in any other opportunities?
Um, I hope BYU gets to keep him. Um, but that is a good question.
Yeah,
It
I
seems like it's
mean,
going on, like negotiations are going on like right now.
yeah, it's been crazy with all the turnover, but obviously Mario Cristobal, he left for Miami from Oregon. So they
Uh-huh.
have a vacancy opening, and I can imagine that. I guess I don't know what BYU's financial ability is to spend on football coach, but I know what Oregon was willing to do for Cristobal, and that was rumored to be 7 million plus per year. That's a lot. So
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, if it's about money and coaching at the high, well, I don't know if Pac-12 is necessarily highest level, but Oregon's typically a team that's in the conversations at the end of the season. So
Yeah. Um, yeah, Oregon used to be dominant,
yeah,
like
I
really
mean,
dominant.
they've dominated the Pac-12 for probably the last, basically since USC's reign ended. Oregon's been the dominant team in the Pac-12, and like you said, Pac-12 is not what it used to be, but it's still a Power 5 conference, and towards the top of that conference, you usually have teams that are competing in the college football finals. So I'd be interested to see what he could do at a program like Oregon, but obviously for your sake, probably not looking forward to him taking that if he's at all interested. So
yeah, he's a really good coach, and so I'm sure that he would have success wherever he is. And if he had the a greater recruitment pool, I'm sure that he would be in the 10 wins at least.
Yeah.
For probably the majority of the time that he's there, because if he can get a really good defense, then I don't think that he's really can be stopped, because he's got a defensive mind. I work with the sister of one of the coaches on BYU staff, and she's told me a few times that Kalani's got a really great defensive mind, which is interesting because he was a fullback when he was playing at BYU.
Well, yeah, but he did learn from Whittingham, and he's quite the defensive mind.
Oh yeah,
obviously he played linebacker, so but Whittingham's a stud, and I've actually heard some rumors that he might be considering retirement after this season, so that would be a huge loss for Utah, but we'll see if those come to fruition or just rumors. But last couple of things I wanted to talk about, and we won't go super in depth with the Warriors. That's usually what John and I do. So I just wanted to mention that Steph is going for the all-time record for 3-point conversions in the NBA. And that's obviously a record that Ray Allen has held since he retired. At the beginning of this game, he was 14 away from tying and 15 away from taking the lead. I'm actually watching this game right now, just kind of off on the side.
He's got 6 right now.
Yeah, he's at 6, but the fourth quarter just started, so I don't see him getting to that, although he has been trying for it.
Yeah,
he's been jacking them up. But
yeah.
It's definitely not his night shooting wise. But
does he still have?
Go ahead.
Does he still have time in the season, or is
for sure? Yeah.
Does he need to get 9 in this quarter?
He needs 9 in this quarter just to beat it at home, which is what he wanted to do, because they're about to go on a big road trip where they're playing 14 of the next 19 on the road. So he was trying to get it at home, but I think he started 0 for 7 from 3, and then he finally started dialing it back. But obviously you want to set those kind of records at home because you want to reward the fans. But I mean, if he doesn't get it tonight, there's a good chance he gets it in the next game. So,
well, and it sounds like he's going to crush it if there's.
Oh yeah, I mean he's 33, I think, and still playing at the highest level. So over the next, I mean, you got to think he's probably going to be able to keep playing because of his shooting well into his late 30s. So he's probably got 5-6 more years of quality basketball, and then even after that, he could probably be a role player just shooting off the bench if he wants to keep doing it. So,
and so he's going for the all-time 3-point thing.
All-time 3-point, and he's only in his 9th season or something like that. So, pretty good. Pretty impressive. I mean, he's broken the record every year for most 3 points made in a season. He's the top, four in a season. So, pretty impressive guy. But anyway, with that being said, go ahead.
I hope he gets it.
I hope he gets it too. Tonight, since I'm watching. But
yeah.
I don't think it's very likely.
9 3-pointers in 10 minutes is going to be kind of hard, I think, or
Yeah.
12 minutes.
Yep.
But
So, all right. Well, with that being said, we're going to go on to the best of the week, worst of the week segment. So,
yeah,
I've got mine ready. I'll just go with mine, and then if you have
are
yours
we
ready, you
doing
can just.
are we doing NFL?
This is whatever. This can be in life. This could be in sports. Whatever. Just your
Oh, okay.
best thing of the week and your worst thing of the week. So, um, mine for this week, I'm going to go with Xbox Game Pass.
Uh-huh.
It has Halo Infinite Day 1 ready, which is today, and then they just rolled out Stardew Valley and Forza Horizon 5 recently. All of those games are fantastic. And then I just wanted to give a special shout out to Ruined King because I bought that game and so far it's been a ton of fun. I'm not super
Uh-huh.
far into it, but it's been great. And then my worst of the week is the Raiders making us believe the last 3 years only to crush our hopes in November, December. And it's just
Yeah.
a repeating nightmare we can't wake up from. So
Okay. Um. Well, I thought that it was NFL, so I kind of
that's
misunderstood
fine.
that.
That's fine.
Well, my best of the week was Taysom Hill hurdling a dude on the Cowboys. Like that's my favorite thing. It's so much fun because he does that. He's such a physical dude, and he's a BYU guy, so we follow him pretty closely. And
Yeah.
it's always fun when he takes off.
Looks like
And
he's going to try to play through that injury too, huh?
yeah, this coming Sunday, both BYU guys are going to be playing each other.
Who's the other one?
Zach Wilson on the
Oh,
Jets.
right. Is he playing?
Yep, he played
Okay.
last game. Um, Neither team is doing super hot, but
Yeah.
it'll be fun to see BYU guys playing each other.
Do you think it might be because they have BYU guys?
Yeah, I don't
Just
think
kidding,
so.
Taren. Go ahead with your worst.
Um, the worst probably was Raiders and Saints and Jets all losing, just because
Yeah.
they're the three teams that we kind of pay attention to. Um, if I'm going personal, like you were saying, um, best of the week. Actually, the past 5 weeks, my mom and I have been able to go to the temple of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That's something that has been hard to do during the pandemic. Um, it shut down. All of them shut down for a
Yeah.
lot of 2020 last year, and they just opened up. And for a long time now, they've been going off of appointments, and so we've just gotten really lucky of getting times to do it by just checking for times to get open and things like that. I've been playing a lot of PS5. My brother and I got a PS5 earlier in the year, and I'm not much of an online guy, but I've been playing Deathloop and Far Cry 6, and it's weird that I'm playing a decade-old game, but they re-released Skyrim for some PS5 upgrades, and
Yeah.
I forgot how much I like that game, and it's really weird that I'm playing a PS3 game that was upscaled like 4 times, but it's still fun.
Yeah. Skyrim. They'll never release Elder Scrolls 6 because they're just going to keep re-releasing Skyrim forever.
Yeah, that's probably true because they'll still be making money from it.
Yeah, it's insane.
I mean,
But
it would be nice, like the only place they can go from here is to update the graphics. But
yeah.
even if they did that, I would consider that Elder Scrolls 6. Probably shouldn't say that if
Yeah.
like Todd Howard watches your podcast or something like that, he'd be
Don't
like,
say that too loud.
cha-ching.
um, what's your favorite PS5 game you played so far?
Um, uh, Probably Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that that series. I also got Spider-Man Miles Morales, and that game's pretty fun. I
Yeah.
liked the previous one. The Miles Morales game is actually kind of shorter than the previous one,
Yeah.
but it was cool. He got some different powers and things, and it's fun
Trying
to.
to think.
It's always fun to just swing around a city. I like open world games that you can get lost in.
Trying to think what I've even played on there. I played Miles Morales, and that one was a ton of fun. I think the next game I want to get on PS5 that I haven't played yet is Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I've heard that's
Uh-huh.
really good. So, and it's obviously PlayStation exclusive. So, but anyway, I think that's all I had. Unless you had anything else that you wanted to talk about before we call it.
Um, I think I'm good
Okay.
for now. I enjoyed this. I mean, if you want me to come on again, I'd love to.
Yeah, we'll definitely
It's
have you
fun.
back on. It
Hopefully, I'll get my camera working.
Yeah, that's fine. It's usually a lot better when we have the three, but
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. I'd love to talk with Kyle again. Kyle, right?
yep. And like I said, John's usually on just on the weekend since he's living over in the UK right now. So with the time difference, that's the only day we can usually match up is either on Saturday or Sunday. So
You're
um, we'll
John.
definitely get you back on at some point, and appreciate you jumping on kind of on short notice.
Yeah. No worry about that. Uh, I had fun and I like talking. I'm sorry if I came across as kind of ignorant about stuff because I most of the football that I watch are highlights on YouTube, so I should bone up more on
No, that's what I
Raiders
should do. I think it'd
Raiders
be
and
better
stuff.
for my blood pressure and all that fun stuff.
Just watching highlights.
Because
Yeah.
watching that Washington game probably took a couple years off my life, at least a couple days. But
You know what? It's always rivalry games, but just because those seem to be the most important to Raiders fans,
yeah,
maybe because we've gotten to a point where uh, we kind of don't really expect them to make the playoffs, so we tend to put a lot of stock into
yeah.
um, the rivalry games. But
Well, and with the
I
Chiefs
would
coming
love to
up,
see him. I would
oof.
love to see him crush the Chiefs. I don't know
Oh yeah,
why, but it just would be so much fun. And they've done it before. They went into Arrowhead last year and won pretty
it's not
well.
unheard of for them to give the Chiefs the hardest time, but
And the
the left
Broncos.
and the Broncos, yeah. But the Chiefs game, the one at Allegiant earlier this year,
Yeah, that
I
was
mean,
sad.
they had a terrible defensive game plan. Like they'd seen what everyone else had been doing up to that point to slow the Chiefs down, not obviously not stop them, but
Yeah.
and Gus Bradley just said, "Well, I could do that, but I want to do it my way," and obviously his way did not work. So I'm hoping they've got some new plans to at least have a better showing in that game because if not, it's going to be a sad Sunday for me and
Is
obviously Raider Nation.
is 11-6? Do you think that is good enough for the playoffs?
I think
Because they do have a 17 game season this year. So
yeah, I mean that's going to require what them winning all
the
the
rest
rest
of
of
the
their
games.
games. Yeah, no,
Yep.
that's not going to happen. But if they did, yeah, it would get them in the playoffs. I think 10
I
will get you in the playoffs in the AFC.
I'm sure
Um,
that it's possible. I mean, I know that it is, and
well,
it would be cool to see. But
possible and Raiders. I don't know that those usually combine too well.
we've got to get them to just play the silver and black attack in the locker room
Yeah, they got to do
every game.
something because it's like you said, it's not been great this season, and obviously I don't want to write the season off just yet, but it seems like just to get into the playoffs, they've got to win 4 of their remaining 5, and obviously I think 3 of those are against division rivals in the Chargers, Chiefs, and Broncos. So you're typically not going to sweep those games. Obviously, they've done it before, but that was the season they missed the playoffs when they went 8-8 and went 6-0 in the division. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Stranger things have happened.
so you're saying don't just watch the highlights just yet.
Uh, or maybe do that because if it was a win, then the highlights are going to be more fun to watch.
Yeah.
And if it was a loss, then it's like, hey, I avoided that.
Yep. It's Lloyd Christmas. So you're saying, or so you tell me there's a chance.
Telling me there's a chance. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, again, thanks for coming on, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks for having me. I'll talk to
Thanks
you
for
again
tuning
later.
in, guys.